Would just like to take a moment right off the top here to say thank you to everyone who stepped up yesterday and decided to assist Jose Cruz in Venezuela. It was an amazing thing to see. And to be very clear, Jose Cruz never once, not in any video, not to me, ever asked one time for help. The people that have needed it the most have never once, and I've never seen it, come to this platform and said, can you do this, can you do that, can you do the other? This was something that just God put on my heart, and so many of you stepped up. Those videos from yesterday, there is a Zelle address, which is just bank-to-bank transfer, that you can use. That actually goes to Jose Cruz, has a brother here in Miami, and he runs a charity that gets medical supplies and toys and food and all sorts of things into Venezuela as a whole. And then if you go to Jose Cruz's channel, it's called Jose Cruz Channel. That's the name of the YouTube channel. Those three words. Jose space Cruz space channel. He has a video that has links to crypto wallets. For those of you who are doing cryptocurrencies, he puts up a link to 4 different ones. So totally up to you. If it's $1, that's great. If it's $10, that's great. It doesn't matter. And I'll put this out there right now. If it is a choice between supporting the Florida Maquis or supporting Jose Cruz, please delete your subscriptions to either my Patreon or to the channel here and send them. By far, in a way, far more important to do that. And if you do that, I'll match. That'll be my commitment to anybody who wants to delete their pledge here. I'll match whatever that is, $5, $10, $15. That's how much I personally believe in this. That we, as a people, irrespective of governments, irrespective of isms, can fix our own problems. Now, there are 2 stories, actually a total of 3, really, if you think about it, that all get wound up in the same psychological operations ball. And I know that sounds like a strange thing to say, but when I was training psychological operations over Patreon, one of the things that we talked about was black-white thinking. Either it's A or it's B. And there are no third options. Or there's a fake third option called, well, that's kind of a gray area between the two. Sometimes there's total solutions to things that have nothing to do with option A or option B. That has to do with our current political system in this country, and it has to do with the situation in Venezuela. Many people have come to me and said, you're talking out of both sides of your mouth. In some videos, you said there's absolutely no problems whatsoever and the country's perfectly fine and it's a giant psyop. I never said that. I never said that. The mainstream media would have you believe that the entire country, from the Caribbean to Brazil, from Colombia to Guyana, is complete total wasteland and it's been totally destroyed and there's no food anywhere and it's Armageddon, Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. That's not true either. There are areas that have suffered. There are parts of the country that haven't suffered really at all. But the vast majority of the imagery that the mainstream media in DC was using to show you this complete and total suffering all came out of one tiny area in the west, from Caracas west to the border in Colombia, west and south. That's where 99% of that imagery was coming from. Over here in the eastern part of the country, they had some shortages, sure. And they've had some problems and the currency has, devalued, but people have adapted and overcome and survived. This is what Redfish did. This is what Gray Zone did. This is what Abby Martin did. This is what all these people did. They went down there and said, look, yeah, there's some grocery stores that are completely out of everything, but there are also some that only are out of a few things. And it's not, well, only the government people get the good stuff and everybody else gets the crap. You see, it's that A-B black-white thinking that traps everyone. It's either this or it's totally that. Sometimes there is a third option. Now, in today's video, I want to not only talk about that, But it loathes me to do it, but I have to explain what's really going on here. There's been a ruling by the Supreme Court about the Electoral College, and we've talked about this, that they have ruled that yes, in fact, electors are independent and free agents. And even after that, Brett Baer reports something here that's totally false, and I'm going to go ahead and play this forward so nobody misquotes me. And let's see if the thing's not locked up. All right, let's try this again. Anyway, he makes the allegation here. It's on the Fomenting Our Xenophobia Network. And the title here is, let me get this to the right zoom. Okay, here we go.
It's one of the quirks of our constitutional system. When you cast a ballot in the presidential election, you're actually selecting members of the Electoral College.
That's not true. That is absolutely 100% not true and unconstitutional. When you're voting for a person. Then, the electors from your state that are supposed to be chosen by Congress in your state, your legislature, are then to take those results, that list of people, and then they are supposed to go vote their conscience. And if they believe that the people of their state have selected someone who is of good and decent moral character and can lead, then they will more than likely vote for that person. But it's not a requirement. But you don't vote for the slate of electors.
A little-known body that ultimately decides who occupies the White House. Their exact role and responsibility have been sources of controversy. We've covered that here. Tonight, Fox News chief legal correspondent and anchor of Fox News at Night, Shannon Bream, tells us about a new court ruling that could have potential 2020 implications.
It took 9 justices to ultimately decide the winner of the 2000 election after Florida's ballots came under meticulous scrutiny. But these 538 members of the Electoral College actually choose the president, meeting in state houses across the country and almost always rubber stamping the winner of the popular vote. But not always.
You see, and that's the problem here. That is the problem. If you are a constitutionalist and you believe in our Constitution, then you would have to come to the conclusion legally that we haven't legally elected a president in a very long time. It has to do with something that nobody is talking about. And this is a basic concept in all of law, especially constitutional law. It's called non-delegation of powers. A delegated power must be discharged directly by the delegate and not through the delegate's agent. It is basically an ethical principle which requires direct performance by the delegate of an entrusted power. Further delegation, therefore, constitutes violation of the trust reposed by the delegator on the delegate. The people, through the Constitution, delegated lawmaking powers to Congress, and as such, it cannot, as a rule, delegate further the same to another. And this is the exact same thing with Article 2 of the Constitution. They cannot say, okay, we're going to have a vote, and whoever wins the vote, whatever party wins the vote, then that party's leaders over there, they're going to choose their slate of electors. Absolutely unconstitutional. No state legislature may do that. This needs challenged, it needs overturned. And we need to return the power of the choosing of the electors to the state houses and not allow it to be delegated to the parties. And this is something that nobody is talking about. And if somebody really wanted to fix the problem, which I don't think anybody does, but if they did, this is the way they would go about it. This idea that all ideas must be subsumed under the Democrat or the Republican umbrella. That if you think this, then you're a that. If you think this, then you're a the other. that there's no third options. And here's the trap. Here's the real big trap. Some people think, oh, well, then you're for gray areas. No, a gray area means that it's some kind of weird mishmash of option A and option B. And you're calling it option C when it's really not option C. It's just the worst of basically option A and B. A real option C is something totally different. Some people say, well, what would you do and what party would you vote for? You know what I'm for? This is what I'm for. This is a great picture. I'm glad somebody put it up. Instead of donkeys and elephants, I want there to be dogs and walruses and parakeets and sharks and starfish and little amoeba-looking things and hippopotamuses and frogs. I want all sorts of ideas. Ideally, there'd be 50. And that's what would give us our strength. That's what would give us our diversity. Independent just means that. Independent. Not slaved to anyone. Do they have some good ideas that they might have fallen backwards to in the two parties? They might. The implementation of it will completely get destroyed through any kind of partisan bickering, that's for sure. That's why I will never support anyone choosing to pursue the endorsement of a party or choosing to desire to participate in their debates. They need to be made irrelevant, and it's in our Constitution to do it. This either A or B thing is going to be the end of us. This is the key right here. Non-delegation of powers. The parties have no constitutional powers. This whole R or D thing. And if you go back and you look at the old debates from 2015, when they were trying to see which one of the 15 Republicans was going to be the party choice. They had that whole, will you choose to support whoever the party chooses? And of course, guess who made a big deal of his big signed pledge? I signed a pledge to blah, 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 blah. To not run third party. Which shows an acknowledgement. Non-delegation of powers. That is the key. In Venezuela, it's not an either or thing. They have states, believe it or not, in Venezuela. And each state does things its own way. But it's controlled at the ground level. Not from Caracas. They've even said that. Delcy Rodriguez, in one of her most popular statements, said, you cannot count on Caracas to fix all of your problems, people of Venezuela. Organize yourselves, fix the problems. If we can be of some type of assistance financially or to grease the wheels, by all means, let us know. We'll do what we can. But you're going to be the drivers of your own destiny, of your own wealth, your own well-being, your own success. Oh, that we would have a leader in this country that would say that. But we don't. But we could. So just keep that in mind. Like, share, subscribe.